Okay, welcome everyone. Today we are here together to learn a little bit about terrapins. So with me today in the room at the Delaware Center for the Inland Bays is Mary Coons, our participatory science technician. I am Nivet Perez, the manager of community science for the center. And in between a lot of things that I do, I manage the Diamondback Terrapin survey for the center. So this is actually our 6th year running the Terrapin survey at the center. So it's like exciting years, so a couple of changes. For those of you that have done it previously, you will notice some of those. Just a couple housekeeping things. We are recording this video for the benefit of those that could not join us today, but are still welcome to join us later in the season and learn more about these very unique and iconic species. Please keep your audio silenced for the presentation, just to the benefit of the recording, but once at the end, we will answer any questions and you're welcome to unmute at that time. Also, if you could enter on your chat box your full name, or if there's somebody else sharing the room with you, or if you don't know how to do that, just chat in your names in the chat box for Mary, so we can keep track of who was present today, and we can provide your qualifications after the completion of the training. Let's remember, we are citizen scientists. We are out there in nature, and 90% of it is having fun. But today we're going to learn how we will be completing this survey. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, a quick outline. Today, we are going to be talking a little bit about the center, the Diamondback Terrapin. I have preliminary data, but I think I have removed it since we're going to have a couple changes on it. We're going to be talking about the land-based survey, and after we go through safety and protocols, we will review and next steps to complete the process and participate on the survey. Okay, so the Delaware Center for the Inland Bays, our mission is to preserve, protect, and restore the Delaware Inland Bays and their watershed. We are an environmental nonprofit, and we were established in 1994. We oversee the implementation of what we call the Comprehensive Conservation and Management Plan for the Delaware Inland Bays. And basically, it's a blueprint, a collaborative blueprint that help us continue the progress towards restoring the water quality and natural habitats in the bays. We seek to promote the wise use and enhancement of the inland bays, and we do this in many ways. And for those of you that have been our volunteers in the past, you know that we do education, outreach, science and research, restoration, public policy, and a lot more. So that's us in a nutshell. So this is a map of our bays and our watershed. So in the map, you can see in the highlighted green area, our watershed. So it goes all the way from Cape Henlopen all the way down to Selbyville and Fegwick Island. This is around 300 square miles of watershed. 32 of those square miles are surface waters of the inland bays, and we have Rehoboth Bay up north, in the middle Indian River Bay, and in the bottom we have, in the southernmost, we have Little Assawoman Bay. In average, they are 4.5 feet, so they're not, it's a very shallow estuary. And for those of you that don't know, estuaries are very important for 80% of our world's fish and shellfish species. They're normally referred as nurseries for a lot of species because their juveniles come to shelter within estuaries until they become adults, and then they can move to open waters. Okay, so who is or what is the Diamondback terrapin? Their scientific names is Malaclemis terrapin. Is the only true estuarine turtle in North America. This means that lives their whole life cycle within the estuaries. They don't live and go to open waters in the ocean or rivers. They stay within the estuaries or brackish waters. They nest on the sandy beaches from May to June in our to July, sorry, in our watershed. So this is the time when you will see them the most around our marshes, sandy areas, and sometimes going across some of our roadways. So in average, they can live about 25 years in the wild. And they are very important species because they maintain the health of marsh ecosystem by eating salt marsh snails. So they feed on these snails that will, if they are left wild and their population overgrown, will kill or overfeed on the smooth core grass or the marsh ecosystem. Some of the pressures the species is facing in our area, some of them are natural predators. We have a lot of birds that feed on them, foxes, raccoons, and even some in the nest, sometimes roots of certain vegetation will grow in the nest, and then if they find the egg, they can go inside and the roots will basically feed from the nutrients inside the egg. Habitat loss, losing our beautiful beaches, a natural beach habitat is very detrimental for the species because then when the females move to nest on them, they can find them. Same thing with salt marshes. Like I mentioned before, that's where they feed and find most of their prey. So, and protection during the winter and during their nesting season. So not having those salt marshes is very detrimental for them. Another one is the really crab pot or ghost pots. These are based on the mostly recreational practices of crabbing. People forget where they place their cages, or they don't check them as often. And even when in our state, it is required to use terrapin excluders in the entrances of these cages, the little ones and sometimes the males can still get through them. And if they cannot get out and breed on time, they will unfortunately perish inside of the cages. Sometimes it's not human fault. Sometimes we have storms and the buoys of these cages get detached so people can find them. And that's how they become ghost crabs. Another one that probably you're very aware of is collision with motor vehicles. So this includes boats and cars. So in many of our waterways, in our bays, we pass very close to marsh areas where they are swimming. So if they hit your boat or a propeller, they can get injured. But also our cars, normally when we are in Route 1. So those of you, I think I have, yeah. So here you can see on the right side, this was a survey performed by our, I think it was Turf Patrol a few years ago. They just went up and down Route 1 and between Memorial and Labor Day. And they counted, or Memorial and July 4th, I think it was, yes. And they counted over 90 terrapin fatalities at that time. And this was between Dewey and Bethany Beach. Since then, we have placed signage throughout the roadways that you can see. And also our partners at parks have installed and maintained for many years this silk fence where they deterred the terrapins from crossing from the base to the road. My two cents in here, if you ever see a terrapin on the road and you feel inclined to help her, with all safety first, so be aware that you may have a car coming behind you, or there may be a cyclist on the cycling lane before you move your vehicle to the side. As safety as possible, if you can stop, you will put and you see the silk fence, you will put the terrapin in the part behind the fence. That means the part that will be facing the bay, not the ocean. If you put it in the other side of the road towards the ocean, the terrapin will not be able to survive in the open ocean. So you will want them to be placed behind the fence. Okay, so why are we doing the survey and what are some of the management in the state for the terrapins. So currently, the data is very scarce. They're considered or listed as a species of greatest conservation need, tier 2, which means that there are a moderate conservation concern. But why is classified like that is because we don't have any long-term studies. It's mostly anecdotal based on previous observation years ago of the population, but it's a perception of the population. We don't have any long-term studies. So this is part of this effort is part of the effort to fill that gap. We don't have much on terrapins in the inland base. In addition, from Delaware, the inland base, we have even less. So we are trying to, with this project, to study and learn about the population size, the changes throughout time, and any distribution changes that may happen in the inland base. And in addition to it, it allows us to engage with the public, engage with people about a species that they are very likely to encounter if they vacation in this area or they spend any time down here with us. Okay, so what is the purpose of the study? I just wanted, for those of you that don't know, this is currently our year 6 of the survey. It's a collaborative study. We are trying to implement a standardized population assessment. The center is actually leading this effort throughout the Northeast coast. So we have partners from Massachusetts to Virginia, and they will be collecting this year in a similar manner data for their terpenes at their states. So the data will all be compiled together in a database and will give us a better understanding of the population, not just in Delaware, but throughout the coast. We are focusing on head counts because it's a monitoring strategy that has been proved and assessed in the past. And we will identify, update, and map the extent of it throughout the Northeast. Like I mentioned, it will result in a regional database, and it will be all collected by citizen scientists, because even in the other states, it will be volunteers like you that will be doing it. That said, this year, every state will have the same data collection, but they have different sites and they may have different locations to do their collections. So if somebody goes to Maryland, you may need to get acquainted which are the sites that they're doing to be able to perform it over there. And some of them may be using paper data sheets this year. And we are not going to, and we will talk about that soon. So let's talk a little bit about the data collection protocol. For those of you that have volunteered with the center before, you know that safety is first. And I will always say it, if there's thunderstorms are in progress, do not attend the survey. The Terrapin survey, as well as the Osprey survey, for those of you that are practicing it already, are very flexible and they're kind of in your own time. So just be aware that we don't expect you to be out there by the water during thunderstorms. Always assess the conditions at the sites. If there's any unsafe conditions that you found, please abstain from conducting the survey. And that's can be from the site is flooded, there's an abandoned car and you don't know what's going on with it. It could be any kind of things. If something doesn't look good to you, do not worry about it. Come back at a later time. Please wear appropriate clothing for the weather conditions. That includes the closed-toe shoes with soles are required. Even when I'm not gonna be there or any staff member gonna be there with you, please, this is for your safety. Some of the sites you are gonna need to walk a little bit, and if it just rained, you may need to walk in muddy conditions. Sometimes there is a little debris, sometimes there is sticks or stones, so trip hazards are possible. And if you don't have a sole shoe, you can get stuck in the mud, or you can get cut on your toes. So definitely be careful about that. Be aware of parking regulations at survey sites. Because you're doing the survey, it does not excuse you for not following parking regulations. And you'll probably know at certain times in the year in our area, some of the towns start charging for parking. So just be very aware of that. If you I know that Bill can give that information, but in the past we have had like you put your data sheet or a sign that says I'm doing the survey, so people know where you are. But that does not excuse you if you from a fee if you are parked wrong or in a place that you should not be. um, Use sunscreen during the day and insect repellent. Many of the sites are within marshy environments, so definitely bug spray is a good option, or even long sleeve sometimes because the bugs can be a little ruthless. Do not take risks or do anything that makes you uncomfortable. If you're uncertain of something, it's better that you email us and we give you an answer a couple days later than you risking if you don't feel comfortable to do something. And if you ever get like any kind of injury, please let us know. And it's just for us to know and follow up that you're okay. It's not that we're gonna file anything. We just want to make sure that you're okay and you decide to come back and volunteer with us next year. Okay, so a little bit of the protocol. For those of you that have done the survey for us in previous years, you know that we had certain standards for the weather where you will go out. This year, we're being a little or a lot more flexible about it. So we suggest in our area in the inland base to complete the survey within 2 hours of the low tide. So that means if your low tide is at noon, you can do the survey anytime from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That 4 hour range before and after will be when you will have the best probability of observing the terrapins. In addition to that, we are looking for air temperatures of 50 degrees. Normally, by the time we start the survey, this will not be a problem because the water will be pretty warm. But as you can see, Mother Nature is keeping making her mind still this year. The water just went down like 3 or 4 degrees in a day. So we just want to keep an eye out there. And this is just conditions where we think there will be a higher probability of seeing more activity from the terrapins. Cloud coverage is about visibility. The less clouds in the sky, the less glare and contrast in the water, so it's easier to see the terrapins. So we suggest less than 50% cloud coverage. This is easy. You're just gonna look up and draw a circle in your periphery of visual side. And if 50% of that circle is covering clouds, it's 50 or more. If it's not, it's less. It's nothing that needs to be, is an estimation. Sustained winds less than 8 miles per hour. I know this has been one of our biggest drivers of when we can survey or not. And it depends on which side you are, the wind direction. We have ways to estimate it, and that's what I will be talking next of how to do it inside. But now you should be able to go at any time. It's just we still need to know what was the wind conditions at that time. And require just daytime hours. You're not going to be able to see the terrapins at night. And so please just no night surveys. Wind speed estimation. So to estimate wind speed at our location, we use the buffer wind scale. And here is a table with examples of how to estimate that, observing characteristics of the water and land. So in your data sheet, you will actually see the number under the column force, so 0 to 3. You're gonna see the VMO classification, so calm, light air, light breeze, gentle. And you also gonna see on the conditions on the water. So if you have a day where the water is like middle-like, like they call it like a plate, if smooth, that's a calm day, that's a zero force day. But if you start seeing like little white caps and breaks of water, you start seeing that little wave action on shore, that's a number 3. Okay, other tools that you will need to get a little familiar with to determine the weather conditions. The first one is the Delaware Environmental Observing System, or DEOS website. They have they provide you can obtain the temperature of the air and the sustained wind speed from it. In addition to that, there's a couple, I think there's like 3 or 4 stations that are close and have the most information for our sites. And we can definitely provide you more information about those. But they normally, the stations are named the location site, so it's pretty easy to find them as well. So this website will be linked on your form, so it will be as easy as just clicking the link for observing and put in the location so you can obtain the information for the day. In addition to that, our volunteer coordinator and master naturalist, Bill McClellan, has been my ride or die on this project for over 4 years. And definitely, I appreciate, and I always read his Terp alert. It's an email that he will be sending to the participating volunteers, and he will be summarizing the weather conditions to kind of give you a gauge of which are the good days on this week to go out and do the survey. He also updates about what sites have been surveyed, how many terpenes have we found, just very summary broad numbers, but he helps us follow like what sites need to be sampled, which ones we're missing, that kind of information. And it keeps us connected throughout the season. He also will put more information as it comes or any updates that I share with him during the season. Okay, so these are our land survey sites. They're all stationary. They're a single location on land, and you can complete them solo. You don't need a partner. That said, if there's a partner with you, both of you will need to fill up separate observations or forms. You cannot combine your numbers because it will be you will be skewing the results. You will count terpenes in the vicinity of this fixed location. Most of these locations are accessible via vehicle. Some may involve a little walk so you can have an unobstructed view of the shore, but most of them are very accessible. The survey should take approximately 10 minutes to complete, so it's not a lengthy survey, and you will be performing left to right sweeps or scans or periods, and I'm gonna call this interchangeably a couple times, but sweeps. And we're gonna jump right into how to do those, how to perform those sweeps. Okay, so this is an example of one of our site. This is the Lower Log Creek site. And you will arrive at your site during a safe and favorable weather conditions. You will record your arrival time, and you will fill out your weather condition portion of the survey at this time. Once you have completed that, you're going to position yourself with an unobstructed view of the water and take a GPS point. So once you are settled and where you're going to start doing your sweep and your observations, you're going to take a GPS point on where you're standing. And then you will be performing a 180-degree visual sweep from left to right with 1 minute between each sweep. So you're gonna do 3 with 1 minute in between. So you will record your first start time for period or sweep or scan number 1. And facing the water, you will slowly move, and let's say that these are sections. So the blue circle is your 180 view, and it also represents up to 100 meters from shore. So 100 meters, to give you an idea, is a football field. So you will need either a scope or binoculars to perform the survey. You will observe 100 meters from shore and count only in your line of sight. So you will slowly move throughout all these 180. So imagine every one of the white arrows are like sections that you're dividing this 180. And you're gonna go through counting everything that is in your line of sight. It will happen, and Terrapin will pop up, and you have already passed through it. Do not count it. You're gonna do 3 periods or scans. You will probably capture them in the next one. There we go. Oh, there we go. Add the number of terrapins observed and record the end time for your first survey period or sweep or scan. And then once you have finished, you're gonna wait 1 minute. Once you have waited that minute, then you start your second sweep. And you're gonna repeat all the steps before twice. So you're gonna do it 3 times. Each sweep is from left to right. And after you complete and write the end time and the number of terpenes observed for each of them, you will complete any additional notes and submit your survey form. So any notes, examples, there's a lot of boat action at the time you were there. That's important because if there's disturbance in an area, they may be affecting if we see terpenes or not. There was, I don't know, there was somebody anchored next to the side and they were putting crab pots or they were fishing. That means that also they may be disturbing the area a little bit. Even though you're watching very far, you're watching 100 meters of it, close to you, there may be some disturbance as well. Or they're out there 100 meters from you in a boat. So it could happen. So just to repeat, and this is a little drawing that you will see on your survey as well. So it will remind you your positioning and how to perform the sweep. So the volunteer, the observer in this case, those binoculars will position themselves to have an unobstructed view of the water and perform 3 180 degrees visual sweeps left to right with 1 minute between each sweep. Sorry. Observe to 100 meters from shore and just count over your line of sight. Each sweep should take approximately 1 minute to complete. So you're waiting 1 minute in between them and you're taking 1 minute to complete each of the sweep. Okay. The unobstructed view, sometimes I get questions about what that means. Sometimes on shore, you will have this one big tree or bush that is in just in the edge of the water, and if you place yourself next to it, you're not going to be able to see nothing from 90 degrees in front of you. It will cover all that side, or the right or the left side. So I will separate myself a little bit of the bush so you actually have that full view of what's in front of you. Sometimes there's some of the sites have other structures in the shore. So we're just asking you that you're not next to the structure so you can actually see everything. Okay. So your question is probably, so when we're gonna be doing this? So volunteers are encouraged this year and every time to do as many surveys as possible at any point during the time period. And I will notice some of you that have done it in the past, we have just done 3 weeks. This year, we're actually doing 6 months. So it is a big change. So I will not ask you to be out there every single day for 6 months. No. So the minimum that we will ask you if you for you to survey is from May to June 30th to survey at least 3 times your site. And from July to August 31st, 1, and from September to October 31st, 1. So now just to give me a break from talking a lot, can any of you guess or tell me why we are putting more emphasis from May to June 30th? You can write it on the chat box, and Mary will let me know. Mm-hmm.
Season, nesting, mating.
Nesting and mating, nesting and mating. Yeah, that's correct. So that's, like I mentioned at the beginning, that's the time of the year where we see the most movement of our females to start nesting, and is more at when the males and the females may be together in the water. So we want to put more emphasis on it. Why we extended the survey time? In the past, the center survey was targeting this time of year from the end of May to the beginning of June, when we see the most of them at the water, and there's the most activity of both males and females in the water. But now, like I said, this is a collaborative effort. So, excuse me, as you can imagine, Virginia and Massachusetts will have a broader range on when these peak times are. And we are also interested on learning pre, during, and post mating season and nesting season. What are the behaviors? Are the terrapins on the same sites? Are they mobilizing after they have nested? How is that movement happening? So the bigger time will allow us to make some uh, um, analysis about the movement throughout the season, but also to be able to encompass all our partners like season. Okay, volunteer roles. Like I mentioned, more than one person can survey at a time. Each observer needs to complete a data sheet by themselves. Try not to compare notes. We're not gonna get anybody in trouble, but it really will skew our observation if you are double counting, or if you are both counting and one says 5 and the other one says 5, and then you put 10. That's basically doubling the amount of terpene that was there. So everybody's doing their independent counts and not comparing counts. You can use binoculars or spotting scope, whatever you feel more comfortable. They don't need to be expensive equipment. You just need to be able to expand your field of view to cover those 100 meters. Wind needs to be estimated and searched. So we need the estimation using the buffer scale, and we need the information from the weather page. Do not count terrapins if they appear in the area that you have already passed. I know it's very tempting that when you are counting and another one pops, try not to, please. And if you do not see any terrapins, you will write, actually, you will not write terrapins, you will write 0 on your data sheet, on your form. If not, it will not let you submit the form. Okay, some tips about spotting terrapins. While you're observing the water, you will be looking basically for the picture in the bottom. You will looking for their heads. And they is one of those things, once you see them, you cannot unsee them. But it's training your brain in a it's weird way how our vision and our brains work. Once you notice and you know how they look, you cannot unsee them. But before you have noticed them, they may just blend. Even when they're in front of you, they may just blend with the water and you cannot see them, even if they're there. But once you know, you know. How can you tell if it's a terrapin? So sometimes there's floating sticks, debris in the water after rain or after any storms most of the time, and it can be confusing. But remember, terrapins are doing what we call this basking behavior, or coming on the surface to breed. So if they were grazing in the bottom, and they were just swimming to get to the other side of the shore, they will go down again. So if you observe it for a couple seconds, I would say more of like 30 seconds, and the stick is still there, and you're observing them and they're not moving, it's probably a stick. If it's a terrapin, there will be movement, either up and down or across the water. So they're likely to reappear. So if you keep observing and it disappears and it comes back, it's probably a terrapin. Okay, let's do a quick review. Things to remember. When do you use the buffer scale to estimate wind speed? At home, before starting any survey, at the site before starting any survey, at the site after the survey. You can write in their chat boxes your answer. Mary, can you tell me? Then for question 2 will be, which are the suggested weather conditions to perform the survey? So these are the suggested: 60% cloud coverage within 2 hours, with winds less than 10 miles per hour, 50% cloud coverage within 5 hours of the low tide, winds less than 3 miles per hour, 50% cloud coverage within 2 hours of low tide, wind less than 8 miles per hour. C. Yeah. For which one? For the first one?
For the second.
For the second one? C.
First one.
For the first one, B. And the last one is how many 180 sweeps do you have to perform per survey? In which direction? And how long do you wait between sweeps? 5 sweeps from left to right, 2 minutes wait. 3 sweeps from right to left, 5 minutes wait. 3 sweeps from left to right, 1 minute wait. Cease?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody is so smart.
Okay, so we're ready to count terrapins. Awesome. There we go. So those are the answers. B, at the side. Why we're measuring when at the side, like I mentioned before, depending on your side and the wind direction at the moment where you are at the side, it may change. So even if it says that it's over 8 miles per hour in your weather station, when you get to the side, it may be in the opposite direction or maybe a side that is protected. So it may not really matter. The other thing is suggested. They're suggested weather conditions, but these are the ones that are suggested to increase your probabilities of seeing the terrapins at your side. And we are doing 3 sweeps, all of them left to right, and all of them waiting a minute in between them. Okay, for those of you, this is one of those. This is very great, but there is terrapins in here. So how many terrapins can you see? How many basking terrapins can you spot? And as you can see, this is pretty much how it's gonna look. It's gonna be gray water. And not because the water is gray, it's just the reflection. And it is difficult to see them at the beginning. So this is just a little practice. How many? Mary is trying to figure out how many. How many we're getting in there?
Let's see. Most.
Okay, 6, most people.
7. Most are 6. I say 6. Yeah.
Yeah, so these are the ones that I will consider 6 of them. There's another one like in here, and I think it's just one that went as the picture was taken, but for sure, these will be the 6 ones that I will have counted.
Most people have.
There we go. Okay, let's count some terrapins. So what we need to get ready. So to complete the survey, you will need to have a signed volunteer waiver. You will need to have a smartphone or tablet, some kind of mobile device. You will need the RGS Survey 123 app downloaded on your phone. Your phone will need to have GPS capabilities on it, a camera, binoculars, a spotting scope, like I mentioned before. And don't forget that sun protection and dressing for the weather. It makes a big difference on how comfortable you are out there. Do not worry, I will go through each of these steps of how to obtain this. So those of you that are here, you have probably completed this process, but if you're watching us from home, you may have not. So this is the link and the QR code to complete our volunteer application. Most of the resources for the survey will be linked on the document library. You will all get access to that document library for the Terrapin survey once your qualifications have been updated. This is how the platform or the application looks from your computer and from your mobile device. Once you're logged in, this is how the portal will look. And once you click on that tab that says My Profile in the top right corner, there's Files button, and that's where the library for the documents are. In addition to that, we have an app to submit our hours or access those documents in the go. It's very helpful since you're going to be multiple sites and you may collect multiple hours of being out there surveying. So it is very helpful to have something that you can clock in and clock out to count your hours, your volunteer hours. Then you need to sign a waiver. Once you are in the portal, that you can sign it digitally, My Profile, additional information. You sign the document and it will pop up this window. You just need to complete the red files or fields in this document, your name, date, and signature. Then you will click Done. And then in the top, once you are removed from that page, you will turn back into this page and you will click Save. You don't click Save, we will just get a document in blank, basically. If you want to do it in another way, you can always go to our website, click that golden button, become a volunteer, and then where it says the 2020 volunteer waiver, you can download, sign it, and scan it or take a picture and share with me or Mary at volunteer@delawareinlandbase.org. Excuse me. Okay, so I think most of you have gone through that process. I think we have a couple waivers that need to be completed, but we can get them done. Okay, so now, how we obtain our Terrapin form. So there's an app called RGIS Survey 123. You can go to your Apple or your Google Play Store and just type RGIS Survey 123. And this is the logo. I don't know if I can point other way. There we go. This is the logo of the app. You will download it. And I'm gonna, Mary, can we stop the recording just to give everyone a chance to do that? And we will be back in a couple minutes.